Hi, welcome to my channel. So in comments, I was asked a couple times to show my setup, what I use to do Clojure development. And I think this video will be useful for Clojure beginners and maybe if you want to upgrade your setup, learn some useful tools. So today I'm going to show you all tools I use in my day-to-day work with Clojure. So if you've seen my videos, you'll probably notice that I'm an IntelliJ user with a Cursive plugin. So I'll talk primarily about this setup today. I also plan a video about some comparing editors available for Clojure, like Emacs, VS Code with Calva, and IntelliJ with Cursive, but that won't be a topic of this video. So today we start from the how to install IntelliJ, how to work with Clojure projects, how to install Cursive, and all these useful commands and all that stuff. So actually, to start with, I want to show you a small utility application from IntelliJ, which is called Toolbox. And if you're going to use IntelliJ products, I really recommend this one because it will help you to install whatever product you want and easily upgrade versions from a single application. So it's free and you can go to the Toolbox app and download it for your system. And after that, you will have this application available. Okay, so I have the Toolbox open now, and there are a couple sections here. So first of all, if you go to Tools, you can see my installed tools from IntelliJ. So I have IDEA, Ultimate, and Android Studio, and I was just playing a bit with Rust and this a lightweight editor that they released, but we'll look into IntelliJ IDEA mostly. So if you don't have anything installed, you'll just select one option from here and click install, and you'll have your latest version of IDEA available. If there is a new release, there is a button here and notification that you can upgrade. You can keep multiple versions in parallel to easily switch back to old version if something goes wrong. I just usually prefer to keep it to the most recent version. And I had no problems with that. So that's about installing the IDEA itself. Then we have projects, and here there is a search bar that you can search your projects, and you can open them from here. It will know in which editor to open your project if you use multiple types. For me, it's just almost all IDEA, so that's how it looks. That's just my personal projects filtered. And also the useful thing, if you go to settings, there is a global shortcut to open Toolbox app, which I use a lot to switch between products. So I just use this shortcut, and if I click it, you see it opens my Toolbox. And by default, it will be opened on the projects tab, and it will be automatically available to filter for your opened projects. So you can just type something here and click enter, and it will open project that you want. Really fast and convenient. So that's the first thing. The other one from the same menu, if we go to the tools here, you can enable CLI commands to open IDEA. It shows it as red, but it's actually properly configured, so it works. I think it's because I'm using the fish shell for some reason, but yeah. Anyway, you just enable it here, and you specify your script's location. I have it here, Toolbox scripts, and then you add this location to the path, and it works. So if I go to my terminal, I'm actually using this var terminal written in Rust, I believe, but I cannot say like I can recommend it. So any terminal will work as well, like iTerm2 or whatever you prefer. I was just playing with this one and it works. So yeah, I keep it for now. And I also, as I said, I'm using the fish shell, but I'm not a power user of a fish shell. I just installed it a couple of years ago. I really liked how it works and behaves from the box. Like the autocomplete works perfectly and all that stuff. So I just using it from that point for maybe 2 years now and had no problems with that. So yeah, I highly recommend if you just want to try a new shell and you haven't tried fish, just give it a try. Autocomplete works really well. So as I said, we have this IDEA command to open the editor now, and let's generate a new project, something like Cursive demo, and we'll play with that. So let's go inside Cursive demo, and I now basically can open it in IntelliJ. So I prefer to specify like the project CLJ or deps.ddn, not the folder. If you specify it like that, it will just open and it will understand that we are in a Clojure project and it will configure it properly. So let's open it now. Cool. So we have our editor here, and to install Cursive for Clojure development, we want to go to settings and go to plugins. And here on the marketplace, just search for Cursive, and there'll be a button here to install it. I obviously have it installed. So yeah, that's how you install Cursive basically, with just one click from inside your IDE. So when we have Cursive, it should detect Clojure, and it will show this Clojure icon for the CLJ files. The other thing to do is, if we want a REPL, there is a drop down here. We click on the plus button and then go to Clojure local REPL. And I usually name it something like local or just REPL, and click apply. And the other setup we want is to set up SDK for Java. I have a bunch of Java versions installed in different locations, so I just select one of those, but I'll show you in a sec how I manage Java dependencies and some other tools. So just select this one, and now I think everything ready to run the REPL. That's done. So now I'm inside this Clojure namespace, and I use a shortcut to switch to this namespace and synchronize this file into the REPL. So I now have full access to all commands that I have. So for example, if I just execute main, it will print hello world for me. So we'll talk about shortcuts in a sec. I just want to show you really quickly how I manage my dependencies. So I was using this ASDF version manager for a while, and if you're interested, there is a video on the channel describing and demoing how to use this version manager. And there was one comment on that video that there is actually a better alternative, which I switched to, and it's called RTX. And it works for me without any problems. It solves a couple issues that ASDF have with the shims and some slow commands that go through those shims. And I just find the UI, CLI UI of this tool slightly better. And there's a couple other features, but it should be a different video. So those are two compatible things. So all dependencies that you have will go to a tool versions file, and you just put it inside your projects, and you can define tools like Java, Clojure, and whatever other like Terraform, whatever other tool you want in that file, and just do ASDF install or RTX install, and it will download all your dependencies. And when you switch between different projects, it will read automatically this tools version file if it exists, and it will upload a different version and install it in your path as you need. So this is really convenient. The cool feature of ASDF and this basically the same thing but different API is that it's really extendable, so you can find any like plugin for almost any tool you can imagine or any language. And if there is no plugin for that, it's really a simple interface how to write your own plugin. It will just install the tool that you want. So for me, if I go to and check what I have inside my RTX config, there's tools I'm configured to install. So I have like Java, Clojure, Lane, Babashka, CLJ Conda, CLJ format, and there's a list of plugins where these tools come from. So you see we just forked everything for security reasons, but basically there are open sourced version of all of those available. For example, for Babashka, it will be this plugin, and you can search for the full list of plugins from the ASDF docs here. So to demonstrate that, let's go to our IntelliJ and let's create a file here called tool versions, and let's say Babashka latest. I know that's the same version that I have in global, but let me show you. So if I go to Cursive demo and I just run RTX install, it's downloading Babashka for me. And now if I do BB version, I now have this version available. So if I want a different one, I can specify a version here. So usually a good idea is to define all the versions you need here, like Java, maybe Clojure if you use deps.edn, and some other tools like CLJ format and whatever you need. So that's how you manage dependencies. Let's talk a bit more about Cursive itself, right? So for me, why I selected Cursive and IntelliJ, and it was multiple reasons. So my background long time ago is a Java developer, so I was using IntelliJ a lot as a Java programmer. After that, I was interested in Clojure, and I was reading some books, searching for some resources online, and it was 7 or 8 years ago, and it feels like at that point almost everyone was using Emacs in some way, and I never tried Emacs before, but I was basically learning Clojure and Emacs editor at the same time, which I don't really recommend for beginners. If you don't have any previous experience with Emacs, just select something simple as your first editor. IntelliJ or VS Code will do a great job for you. So just don't learn two things at the same time. But basically I was struggling with Emacs for a year, maybe a year and a half. But after that I gave up and switched to IntelliJ and Cursive. And at that point Cursive was already really good. The cool thing about Cursive is that at that point it was, I believe, the only editor that was providing static analysis of your Clojure code. So you don't have to start your REPL to actually work with your project. So we all know that REPL-driven development in Clojure is one of the selling points, but it's really useful when you actively developing your project, right? But if you just want to open your project and just navigate through dependencies, navigate through code, search for some usages, and maybe do some refactoring and all that stuff, it's a bit annoying to have your REPL running to perform those actions. So I was really appreciating this approach that was similar to what you expect from an IDE. So you have like your code and it's static analysis. So you can search for usages, do the refactoring, go to definitions, and on top of that, from IntelliJ, as we run our apps on JVM, it is like a first-class support for Java, right? So all underlying libraries available. You can go inside code, you can decompile bytecode and all that stuff. And also the debugger works for both Clojure code and Java code. So you can put your breakpoints wherever you want. Yes, for Clojure code, it's not ideal because it's like a line-based and it's a bit like behavior is a bit weird if you have nested forms, but with some practice it's really useful still. So if you debugged some problem with your print lines and after that you have some problem inside the library that you don't have access to, the debugger is in IntelliJ is pretty solid choice, to be honest, and I use it quite a lot when I have some complex problem to debug. So I really don't see any like downsides of using Cursive and IntelliJ. So it works for me perfectly. Obviously, I'm on a modern MacBook. So if you're on something like less performant, maybe you want something more lightweight. But with a good laptop, I don't see any problems like opening 10 projects in IntelliJ. It just works without any issues. So no problem for me. The other thing to mention is, unfortunately, if you use this combination for production, like commercial development, you will need a license, at least for Cursive, because it works with a community version of IntelliJ, and basically the community version of IntelliJ is all we want for Clojure, because in Ultimate it adds supports for all these Java frameworks like Spring or whatever they have, but we luckily don't need that. So all these annotations and ORM models and all that stuff. But if you can afford, I still suggest Ultimate IntelliJ because it gives much more features. And one to mention is ability to basically you have data grip inside your IDE as well. So you can connect to databases and you have this data grip built inside your Java IDE to work with database. But if you use it for personal projects, so you just learn Clojure, that should be fine. Cursive is free for non-commercial development, as I understand the license. So just give it a try. So to install this plugin, I already showed it. It's pretty simple. It's just from inside IDE, click the plugins and install. And I highly recommend to read through this getting started guide. There's quite a lot of useful information. So we've already seen how to start the REPL. The other thing is to understand that by default we have a strict strict mode, so it's called per edit or something like that, and I think that's the right way to do Clojure development. There is an alternative which is called per edit, there is an alternative that's called perinfer. I don't really like that because it tries to balance brackets for you. I just find it's more useful to switch your mindset from doing the programming and looking at the code in terms of lines of code and switch it to S expressions and just work with those expressions instead of lines. So whatever you type, if you open bracket, it will always open the matched bracket, and it works for everything. And yeah, that's how it keeps things balanced. I just suggest you not to use things like kill line because it's not preventing you from doing that. So you will unbalance your brackets. I just from muscle memory, not using these commands when I write Clojure code. But a good idea, if you're just learning that, it will be just unbind these shortcuts. Just don't use them. So always use something like kill next S expression like that, and it will keep your brackets always balanced without any problems. So regarding useful commands that I use while editing, the most important thing to learn, I believe, is expanding selection. So if you go somewhere inside, and I have it, I have the key binding a bit weird, but it's Control, Command, and Space. I'm not sure if that's default or not, but basically if I start from somewhere, I can just expand by S expressions from that point. So if, for example, I want to delete this S expression, I go inside, select it with a couple clicks, and then just delete it. Or alternatively, I can just put cursor before that S expression and execute the kill next S expression shortcut. So this is all described in structural editing section in the Cursive user guide with some demos. So I just recommend to spend a bit of time and learn that, and it will help a lot with your speed of your development in Clojure, and it will help you to avoid this annoying and balanced brackets. So the rule of thumb basically is to avoid killing the lines and always work with S expressions in mind and just use operations that are safe on S expressions, like kill next, select S expression and kill, and all that stuff. And you'll be fine. So, as I said, we have static analysis. So even if I just remove, stop the REPL, and I go here and create new Clojure namespace, let's say called like some other namespace right here. And if I do define my function, x, y, and let's do like something like print line plus x, y. And then I can go to core, and now let's say I want to have it from other, my fn, and 1 and 2, and I want to require that. Here's other. So without the REPL, I can go to definition of the function and go back. I can also do refactoring. So that's a shortcut for refactoring. And if I do something like that, you see it's changed here, but also it will be changed in all places that where the function is used, like this. I can also find the usages. And yeah, it will take a bit of time to learn all these commands in IDEA, but yeah, any editor takes a bit of time to get the most useful things. The one ultimate command that I want to show you is Shift-Shift. So it will open this context menu, and if you don't know what is the key binding or what you're looking for, you can just try to search for that. So let's say I just want to uppercase this string, right? And I always forget what is the shortcut for that. So I just go Shift-Shift and do something like toggle case, and it shows me this command. I can execute it from here, right? So it was applied to this select thing, but also I know now what is the shortcut. So if I go here and I select this and just go like that, I now know how to use that. So you basically can search for whatever command you want here, as well as if you're searching for a file, so you can use the same window. So it basically supports all searches for commands, for files, for functions, and all that stuff. So just Shift-Shift, remember that, really useful. Okay, so let's now go back here and open a project where I have a bit more code to show some other features. So let's go to some namespace. So we have a couple functions here defined. The one thing I find really useful is to show the structure of a file. So I think it's if you do Shift-Shift again and type structure, file structure here, this one. So it looks like this. It opens this window, and there's all top-level functions that you have defined in your namespace. And the cool feature is here, if you select this narrow down on typing, it will do filtering for you. So now I just type for OK. If I search for that function and click enter, and I move to that part of the namespace, it's really useful if you have a huge namespace, not like that, but maybe like a 500 lines or something like that. So it's really easy to just open this, and for example, I know I want to go to something like item component, right? So I just go here and I'm there. If I want to go back to OK function, I'm there as well. That's really useful. The other thing is the buffer for copy pasting. So if I select and copy this line and maybe this one, and let's say this one. So now if I insert it, it will be the last copied thing, but actually I can open it with Shift Command V, this buffer. And again, if I just start typing something, it will filter the result. So if I know I want that hello world line, I just type that and it's automatically selected. That saves a lot of time in all kind of situations. So yeah, there are a lot of powerful things with the multi-line editing. So for example, if I go to core and let's say I want to rename everything that has this dash component thing, I can just select same string in multiple places with Ctrl G. So as you see, I'm now selecting this stuff like that, and I can do now some format renaming here. Could be useful in some cases as well. Okay, so what else I have? Yeah, maybe you noticed, but I have these nice symbols like that looks like a single symbol. To enable that, we want to open project settings, and we have this schema font section, and you want some font that supports ligatures. This checkbox. I think if I apply that, yeah, now you see it looks like that as two different characters. If I go back and enable that and apply, but basically to enable that, you want a font that supports these ligatures. So for example, this Fira code thing supports that, but there are multiple other fonts that support. So now we have this nice symbol. It will work for stuff like not equal, equal. Yeah, we don't use this one, but in other languages they use it. And yeah, things like that. Thread last and other stuff. So that's a nice feature. The small plugin I sometimes play with is pretty symbols, something like that. Let me just search that. Plugins. Pretty Clojure pretty symbol, and I can just demonstrate you. So if we have a function like that, if I enable that plugin, it will basically convert this to this lambda symbol, and some other things as well are converted. So for example, this lambda. I really hate this syntax for functions in Clojure. So sometimes I see the value for this thing, but it's more like a plugin to play with. I'm not usually have that enabled, to be honest. But there are some cool things. For example, I think set will be converted to something. Yeah, you see this symbol. So yeah, if you want to surprise someone, install this one. But if you're not familiar with this, and the other developer you're pairing with is not familiar with that, just make his life harder. But yeah, there's an option like that. Okay, so I moved back to our Cursive demo project, and just to wrap up the video, I just want you to show the most useful commands from the Cursive itself, so you can start working with your Clojure code. And if you right click to open the context menu, you'll see this drop down, and there's a section called REPL, and there's a bunch of commands here that you're interested in. So the most important two are load file in the REPL and switch REPL to the current file. So if I use them, I can sync my REPL with the current state of the namespace. So if I create my function 2, and now I just try to myfn, you see I don't have the function 2 yet in the REPL, so I cannot execute that one. But if I sync the file, load the file into the REPL, now I have both functions available. So some people prefer load things to the REPL and then use the REPL input to play with your code. The other approach is to open a comment section in your namespace itself, and then inside here we can run our functions. And to execute those blocks, there is a command for that. So it's send something to the REPL. So if I put my cursor at the end of the form, I can now execute that, and you see this was sent to the REPL and evaluated. So, and yeah, but basically this comment block is not executed when you load your namespace to the REPL. So it's safe to use whatever calls here as you want. There's two approaches. So that's the most important thing. The other stuff is regarding tests. So if we go to our tests, and same, if we go to the REPL commands, there'll be a section. I'm not sure if you see it under the camera, but there are commands to run tests, and there are two commands that I really usually use. If I put my cursor somewhere inside the test with a Control-C, Control-T, I can execute one test. So if I fix that, for example, I run one test. If I put my cursor anywhere, I can run all tests in the namespace. So let's duplicate this one, like B test, and let's make it failing. So now I run all tests in the REPL, and I see that this one is okay and this one is not correct. And also this div is really useful for your tests. If we do something like empty map, or maybe like A1 and compare it to B2, we now can evaluate that. And if you click on this icon, you will see the div. So it's pretty simple here, but it's useful when you have a complex map and you can compare that. And this div is really, really helpful. It highlights what is actually different in your expected and actual values. Yeah, I think that's really it. So that's all you need to start your Clojure journey. A good editor. You should know how to create a project and how to spin the REPL, how to connect your REPL to your source code, so you can load your namespaces into the REPL, synchronize namespaces and REPL state, and execute blocks of code. And you have two options to execute them in the REPL or send the forms from your namespace files to the REPL. Yeah, I hope that was useful. If you have any questions, don't mind to ask them in the comment sections. And as usual, thanks for watching. Thanks for likes, comments, and subscriptions. I really appreciate that. Yeah, have a nice day and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.